any liquor. Is that what you said?
Yeah, what I said is that having looked at the issue of those who were accused of collecting back the palliatives that were ordinarily or initially supposed to be given to them.
Yeah.
But which these political elites in their callousness chose to halt and allow the people to die in hunger. But these people now discovered those warehouses and collected what belongs to them.
Okay.
And they have arrested them now, and they want to charge them to court. So I offered free legal services because in the first place, they deserve what we call legal representation.
Yeah.
And I want to make this very clear. Anyone that is accused of any crime at any point in time is presumed to be innocent, and he deserves legal representation in accordance with the provisions of our Constitution.
Right.
It's either he defends himself personally or he gets a legal practitioner of his choice. Now, I decided to offer, legal services free. They are supposed to be defended in the first place. These are their entitlement. But in this particular instance, for those who actually took these things, and because they were hungry, it's also important that we define those that will be qualified for that legal representation. One, you must have taken these palliatives.
Right.
It belongs to you in the first place. And secondly, because you are really hungry, because in my own case, I'm entitled to palliative, being a victim of the COVID. But I cannot go and break any warehouse in order to take these things, because God has been faithful to me. I can afford those things. Are you following me?
Right.
But there are those who cannot, even 1 square meal a day. And the government also, they locked down the system and they didn't provide these things that were given to the state government to distribute.
Right.
Both the corporate Nigeria and government officials at the federal level distributed these things to the state governors.
Right.
Please give these things to the people who are suffering. And up to now, these people kept these things in the warehouses.
Right.
Various warehouses. So they say that some of them were even expiring. And so people now discovered those warehouses and went out and took things that belonged to them. You now arrested them and you want to charge them. You, the political elite, supposed to be the one to be arraigned.
Would come.
Touch Radio, your first companion in infotainment.
Yeah, I mean, say high vibration investigation. Hey, got to keep moving. When they try to deny you, got to keep grooving. Oh, you just have to keep on moving. Any little trouble, blow shit out. Be as strong as a rock of foundation. In a Jaja land, glorify them world. In 1,000, you see them multiply.
Touch Radio, your first companion in infotainment.
Got to keep moving. Even when they try to deny you, got to keep grooving. Righteousness shall always prevail. When the Babylon going with free. Just see in any corner. Rasta revolutionary years at all. One and one we shall take them down. Revelation are written on the wall. Got to keep moving. Even when they try to deny you, got to keep grooving. Iris Lassiai. Jacking down.
Touch Radio, your first companion in infotainment.
Investigation. Investigation. When they try to deny
Good afternoon, our listeners all over the world. You're welcome once again to your program, Straight Talk. My name is David Lucas. The first voice you heard there was that of the legal luminary called Monday Ubani. Monday Ubani was the former vice president of the Nigerian Bar Association. He said from that broadcast he made available to the media, he said he was ready to defend the palliative looters, those that went out to take, according to him, what belonged to them. Now, Monday Ubani told us just a few days back that he was ready to defend those people that the government has labeled as thieves or looters. But he said they are not thieves. They just went after what belonged to them. Now, that was Monday Ubani. And he said he will do everything possible. He's going to defend them free of charge. So if you are listening to the sound of my voice and you happen to be one of those that the government is after, just try and get in touch or get across to Monday Ubani. He's ready to render a free service to the people that the government, label palliative looters. Welcome once again. We'll be right back after this timeout. Yeah, welcome. Now, this episode is going to be a bumper one because a lot of things that crop up from the Lekki shootings. Every day, things are just coming up, and just a few days back, you had the federal government through the NBC, putting some kind of fine on 3 TV stations, AIT, that is African Independent Television, Arise Television, and Channels Television. This fine of, I think they were fined 3 million naira each for what NBC say unverified Lekki shooting video that they've been using to incite, tension in the land. And we, as looking at it, we are saying this is unfair to the media, that the media, do not deserve this kind of hard, knock on them. And we are going to be looking a lot, in this direction this week. What I believe the presidency, what they need is not, what I call the media bulldogs, of additional and the likes, in the presidency. What I think the presidency needs at this point in time is PR managers, that can, stand in the gap, that can mediate between the government and the people. So we're going to be looking, very, very deeply into the NBC's slam on the media houses. But before I go any further, I want you to just listen to the NBC press statement in which they made mention of a lot of things. Please, my producer, I don't know whether that.
Touch Radio, your best companion in infotainment. Touch Radio.
What is gonna say? The world will hear me. Been richer now, only I come through since when still. Go your separate ways.
National Broadcasting Commission, Office of the Director General, Public Affairs Department, Press Release, 26 October 2020. Coverage of crisis and responsibility. The National Broadcasting Commission is concerned about the professional misdemeanor of some broadcasting stations in the past couple of days, whereas it can be said that the Nigerian media, especially the broadcast media, discharged its role professionally and most patriotic in confronting the challenge of COVID-19 crisis. The same cannot be said of the coverage of the recent NSAS campaign. Monitoring report available to the Commission indicates that indeed, at the early stages of the conflict, the broadcast industry likely gave a fair and balanced coverage to the issues. This trend became completely reversed when violence, wanton destruction, and looting were added to the dimensions. Perhaps in the eagerness to break news and be pace setters, stations engaged in the very unprofessional attitude of speculative and unverifiable broadcast. This is inspired of the following provisions in the Nigeria Broadcasting Code, which provides as follows. 5.6.1. In contemporary times, the impact of modern technology has significantly enabled citizens' contribution to journalism, which are beneficial to broadcasting. In this genre of citizens' reportage, deploy such facilities as user-generated content, UGC, providing instantaneous eyewitness accounts of events. Such technological benefits place further demand on the broadcaster to be more cautious of its editorial responsibility. 5.6.2. News material sent in by public must be vetted by broadcaster who has editorial responsibility. 5.6.3. The broadcaster shall be mindful of materials that may embarrass individuals or organizations or cause disaffection, incite a panic or rift in the society in the usage of UGC. Channels television, Arise TV, and AIT especially continue to transmit footages obtained from unverified and unauthenticated social media sources. No doubt, these pictures stimulated anger and heightened the violence that was witnessed during the crisis. We believe that your country has now seen why the spurious and recklessness on social media must not be patronized by the mainstream traditional media. Broadcasters who therefore dogmatically patronize the social media must bury their heads in shame. The Commission wishes to seize this opportunity to condemn in total terms the assault and intimidation of media houses, the burning of TVC Lagos, the brief closure of Channels TV Lagos are all worrisome indicators of mock threat to the freedom of the press. No nation can grow when the citizens muzzle and intimidate its press. We are at the stage of our nation's history when our broadcasters have a crucial responsibility for responsive and professional broadcasting. By picking unverified, unsubstantiated social media sources and repeating the narratives, our broadcasters have shown crass lack of professionalism and a disposition to be escalators of conflict and, more seriously, a threat to Nigeria. In line with the provisions of Section 5.6.9 of the Nigeria Broadcasting Code, which states that the broadcaster shall be held liable for any breach of the code emanation from the use of material from user-generated sources. The Commission has therefore sanctioned Arise TV, Channels TV, and AIT in line with the provisions of the Broadcasting Code. This is to serve as deterrent to broadcasters who deliberately ignore to verify stories before they broadcast. The Commission calls on stakeholders, on broadcasters, to always ensure that when they use UGC and social media sources, they must ensure their veracity and authenticity. Management, dated 26th October 2020.
Was gonna say the world will hear me. But rich and only I can tell since when still go your separate ways. Get resolved there. Did your destiny, so you know I'm proud of me. What's gonna say? But rich and only I can tell since when. Get resolved there. Future destinies, so you know.
Yeah, welcome back. Yeah, that was a press statement released by NBC, made available to the public. And from what we heard, the NBC, they're saying that that those three stations were showing unverified footages of video that's of Lekki shootings. And like you all know, when the governor of Lagos State, he too came, to address the press, saying that of a truth that the soldiers were at the scene of the Lekki protest. But what the governor refused or failed to tell us was that the shootings was actually carried out by the soldiers. And from the videos made available, we saw the soldiers, we saw them, shooting last week, on this program, I told you that during that before they started shooting, there was a reporter working with Tuba FM in Ikorodu. The reporter was right there reporting for his station where the shooting started, and I was monitoring everything. And she said that she told us that the army, when the army arrived, she was reporting, and when they started shooting, she was saying that she could not stand, the shooting and the noise. So she had to fled. Now look at what the NBC is now saying that all those footages, released were not real, and I mean, something needs to be done. It's annoying. This is annoying. We're supposed to have a free, media space, not a media, that will be gagged, because, just look at what even the information minister, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, what he is saying. According to the Amnesty International, they came up, with their own findings, saying the footages of the army moving from their barracks, to the Lekki toll gate where the shooting took place, has been verified. But the federal government, has rebuffed, the findings of Amnesty International, calling it an unverified fact. This, however, to me, has led to, the Minister of Information, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, saying that the social media also and the internet will be, regulated. He was giving example of China, that if you go to China, that their internet, their social media, you cannot access it. Even your email, you can't access it. And this is, I don't know. Now, I want you to listen to what the governor of Lagos State, Governor Sanwo-Olu, what he said concerning the shootings, so that you can really understand, where we are going.
Get resolved there, future destinies, so you know I'm proud of me. I'm proud of me. I'm proud of me. I'm proud of me.
There was no leadership to appeal to, as they had continually maintained that remaining leaderless was indeed a strategy for them. For clarity, it is imperative to explain that no sitting governor controls the rules of engagement of the military. I have nonetheless instructed an investigation into the ordered and the adopted rules of engagement employed by the officers and men of the Nigerian Army that were deployed to the Lekki toll gate last night.
No one matters now. They don't grant the air burst, so they don't hold the life of me. Quiet. Drip trying to hold me down with breaking up.
Capacity as a commander-in-chief to unravel the sequence of events that happened yesterday night. Fellow Lagosians, whilst we pray for the swift recovery of the injured, we are comforted that we have not recorded any fatality as against the widespread circulation on social media. Both myself and the leadership of my Ministry of Health have been going round. Indeed, we went round all the hospitals. Last night, we went round the mortuaries last night to see and to monitor for ourselves what has happened and to look identify the injured protestants. It is therefore relevant to let you know that we have also personally visited the hospitals that took in these patients. 10 patients were at the General Hospital in Lagos. 11 patients were at the 2 locations of the Reddington Hospital, both in Lekki and Victoria Island, and another set of 4 patients were at Vidic and later transferred to the Grenville Hospital, also in Victoria Island and in Ajah area. And I want to expressly say that over the night, 2 of them had to go through surgery, and I'm happy to say that they're both stable and they're recovering very well. Quite a number of others are just mild to moderate states. Indeed, 3 of them has been discharged, and I'm told this morning that additional 3 or 4 will be discharged anytime from now. Fellow Lagosians, in the sensitive mood, with the mood of the nation at this time, have directed further that we have an immediate suspension of all state activity for the next 3 days, except those that are connected with the governance of security in the state and the management of the current issue. I've also directed that at all public buildings, if we can reach, that would lower the flag for the next 3 days as a mark of respect and solidarity for the protests. It may seem like the darkest hours of our history as a people. Our sun will rise again. From the present ashes of our morning today, a bright morning shall emerge from the womb of time, and we, as Lagosians, shall rise again. From the lowest place where this incident has thrown us, we shall rise with the wings like the phoenix and regenerate ourselves with new strength for a brighter tomorrow. As we walk this phase in our history, let us remain one resilient people under God with absolute faith, trusting that we shall indeed rise again. Where we're not in faith, I apologize for everything that has happened. I want to once again, and passionately from the depth of my heart, appeal to our teeming youths, to our Protestants, that they should please give peace a chance. There have been several reported cases of arson, of destruction already this morning.
Welcome back. That was the governor of Lagos State, saying that we should give peace a chance after the shooting. The governor went around, these hospitals where those the victims of the shootings were carried to, and initially he denied that there was no shooting, but when the people of Lagos State and they started crying, shouting, he had to admit that of the truth that some people were shot at. But one thing I want us to understand here is the denier, the initial denier, from the government of Lagos State, and also from the Nigerian Army. I will play you a tape, shortly about the denial from the Nigerian Army, saying that the viral, video from the Lekki protest ground was photoshopped, said that it was not real, that that video was not real. I mean, you can see the kind of heart that our people that they have. But before then, let's listen to what Jimmy Disu, had to say concerning the his own reaction to the shooting. Disu is a journalist, of over 40 years, and I respect him a lot. Let's listen to him, and before we go to the army.
Like great fella would say, it's a Gestapo country, and all things are possible. What we know is that there were some people in military uniform. I think that's the safest way we can put it. And this thing could jolly well have happened without the knowledge of the governor. We make certain assumptions about government, and we think that at the very top things work smoothly and in sync. But experience has shown that sometimes you do find various interests within government rearing their head and quote and unquote taking authority in certain circumstances. So I suspect that the governor might not have known, because if he had known, why would he then be saying something to the effect that, the Lagos State government will set up an inquiry? You see, these are the key words that one needs to examine carefully. If he knew about it, he wouldn't say he's setting up an inquiry. So maybe he didn't. Maybe he didn't, which again would be very, very unfortunate. It would be very, very. I see, Sheriff, I don't understand what's making the round that the military is denying being involved. Is it a verified handle?
Let me tell you, Jimmy. Wait.
Tell me.
I'm going to their Twitter page right now.
Well, is that Twitter page, is it a verified?
Yes, it is.
You know that
it is.
It's control. Used to it.
We'll fight.
No.
It's verified.
Today you flow me.
Let me just mention the verified Twitter handle is at HQ Nigerian Army.
Okay.
That's the handle.
And what are these?
And it's verified. So different websites are carrying different headlines. Soldiers fired gunshots, dispersed Hentas protesters. They wrote fake news on it. They put the screenshot of that report there by a website, Nairametrics, and they wrote fake news on it.
Yes.
Reuters also carries something. Soldiers open fire on Nigerian anti-police brutality protesters in Lagos. They said witness. They wrote fake news on it. And there are others here. Let me take this one here. This is from the Globe and Mail. They wrote fake news on their own story as well. The headline says, soldiers open fire on Nigerian protesters in Lagos. Witnesses say. Okay, so here is this one here. Men in military fatigues shooting at NSAS protesters in Lekki.
Exactly.
They wrote fake news on it. That's a report from
okay, Sheriff. Let's.
Yeah, that was Jimmy Disu, reacting to what the army, to their own initial reaction. Like all the footages, that were posted, all the army was, what they were doing was fake news, fake news, fake news. That was their reaction on their own Twitter handles. Now look at what the army media man, Major General Eneche, he too said something that was annoying. Thank God for a platform like this, where we're able to, to release things to the public for them to be able to sit down and judge by themselves. Now, listen to what the man said. The army media man, Major
What are their
General Enoche.
responses? So, and now let us not set the cat before the horse. What I can say is that carrying people to Photoshop is a small thing now. It's because me and you may not have time. It's what children in they call it GSS1 now will do. They sit down, they carry and put together, and they just send it out. So please let us be careful. I think for the last week, we arrested about 4 from Jerry here. Everywhere they are there, and mostly we suspect that these are people either used by enemies of this country or some of them just because our level yet is not up to interrogating our military personnel. That is people interrogating that they just see a uniform come up and then the person is a soldier, the person is an airman, or the person is a rating. So and that is wrong. So we are also trying to handle that, and that is why we have an operation called Operation Checkmate. Coordinate.
Yeah. That was the army spokesman, Major General Enoche, saying that those footages were Photoshop. They denied it, outrightly, saying it was a Photoshop, footage. Now, it was based on all this, all these, like what the army said, even the Lagos State governor saying though there were shootings, but the army were not there. Initially, he too denied the fact that the soldiers were there. Now, it was based on all this that made the social economic rights and accountability right, to that is SERAP to come up with their own, their own crying. They said, look, you cannot be doing this, to the media houses. They are supposed, to be our helper when it comes to information, dissemination. Now you are putting a slam on them, 3 million naira on each of them, because of, or you said, unverified, footages from the Lekki shooting. Now look at what SERAP said. SERAP too came up with their own reply in NBC that it's unfair. It's unfair for you to to put that amount on those 3 media houses. Now let's listen to the release, shown out by SERAP.
NBC to withdraw illegal fines on Channels TV, AIT, Arise TV. SERAP asked NBC to withdraw illegal fines on Channels TV, AIT, Arise TV, or face legal action. Signed by Kolawole Oluwadare, dated October 26, 2020. Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project SERAP has condemned the unconstitutional and illegal fines of 9 million naira reportedly imposed by the National Broadcasting Commission (NBC) on Channels TV, AIT, and Arise TV, 3 million naira each, purportedly over their coverage of the NSAS protest. The acting Director General of the NBC, Professor Armstrong Idakaba, announced at a press conference in Abuja today that the agency has fined Channels Television, Arise Television, and Africa Independent Television for what it termed unprofessional coverage of the NSAS protest. Reacting, SERAP, in a statement by its Deputy Director Kolawole Oluwadare, said, "This action by the NBC is yet another example of Nigerian authorities' push to silence independent media and voices. The NBC should drop the fines and uphold Nigerian constitution and international obligations to respect and protect freedom of expression and media freedom. We will sue the NBC if the unconstitutional fines are not rescinded within 48 hours." The organization said, "This is a new law in Nigeria's protection of freedom of expression and the ability of independent media to function in the country. The fines are detrimental to media freedom and access to information, and the NBC must immediately withdraw the decision." The statement read in part, Media freedom and media plurality are a central part of the effective exercise of freedom of expression and access to information. The ability to practice journalism free from undue interference, to cover peaceful protests, and critical views are crucial to the exercise of many other rights and freedoms. The media has a vital role to play as public watchdog in imparting information of serious public concern and should not be inhibited or intimidated from playing that role. The embassy should stop targeting and intimidating independent media and voices. President Muhammadu Buhari should caution the NBC to stop intimidating and harassing independent media houses and to respect the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended and the country's international human rights obligations, including under the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. Signed, Kolawole Oluwadare, Senior Deputy Director, dated 26 October 2020.
Touch Radio, your best companion in infotainment.
Yeah, that was Social Economic Right and Accountability Project, SERAP, their press release, And aside that, the PDP too, they came up with their own press release, And I think it was out of after all this pressure on the government and I'm talking about Lagos State government, the army that made them to own up. And let's listen to what Kola Ologbodiyan, the PDP spokesman, had to say. Let's listen to the release.
And SARS. PDP condemns NBC clampdown on AIT, channels, others. Signed by Kola Ologbodiyan, dated October 26, 2020. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, has condemned the clampdown on major broadcast stations, including AIT, channels, and the Arise TV by the All Progressives Congress, APC-led federal government over the reportage of the NSAS protests in various parts of the country. The PDP has said that it rushed to impose monetary fines on the television stations by the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, marks of a fresh attempt to further gag the media, suppress free speech, and Nigerians' access to information. Indeed, this clampdown on broadcast stations, if anything, has heightened widespread public apprehensions of attempts at concealment of details and suppression of material evidence relating to human rights violations during the protest. In fact, this display of high-handedness by the NBC has hugely detracted from the effort being made by well-meaning Nigerians to douse attention in the land and reassure Nigerians at this critical time. The NBC should rescind this rush to calm down and handle its regulatory role more professionally. Our party holds that, in the case of information handling, especially in a crisis situation as we witnessed in the last 2 weeks, where caution is required, draconian measures should not be an option. Rather, all effort should be towards national healing. Instead of seeking to gag the media, Nigerians would rather expect establishments like the NBC to be on the side of the people by urging government agencies to come up with information, particularly such that contain critical pieces of evidence that would guarantee justice for victims of brutality by unscrupulous security operatives. While the PDP calls for caution by all Nigerians, especially in the handling of information, we urge agencies of government to be mindful of actions that are capable of abating the already precarious situation in which we have found ourselves. The PDP restates its call for calm and restraint in the general interest of the unity and stability of our nation. Signed, Kola Ologbodiyan, National Publicity Secretary, People's Democratic Party, PDP.
Now, welcome back. Now, after all the releases and acquisition and counter acquisitions, eventually the Nigerian Army owned up, and the Army agreed that Lagos State government invited them to the NSAS LEKKI toll gate protest ground. They own up to that. Aside, what PDP and SERAP and the rest have been saying, even Amnesty International said they have clips from the satellite monitoring the army, how they left the barrack, to the protest ground. They say they have all the details with them. I think these are what made the Nigerian Army to eventually own up to the fact that they were involved, they were there, at the protest ground. And even the what's it called? The International Criminal Court today, they said they are going to take it up. And Colonel Sagiru Musa, on behalf of Major General Burantai, he to address the press, and he was telling the people that they should not worry, that there's nothing that the ICC will do to them. Let's listen to that before we go to what Sagiru Musa is addressed to the press on behalf of his boss, Major General Burantai.
Nigerian Army has continued to exercise restraint, applied all the principles of internal security operations, and fully abided by the internationally recognized rules of engagement as contained in our published standard operating procedures for internal security operations, which are derived from the international human rights laws and are in accordance with the international principles guiding the use of force. He used the opportunity to re-emphasize that none of the PSOs, GOCs, field commanders, and other officers and soldiers of the Nigerian Army should be afraid of the International Criminal Court for carrying out their legitimate duties as stated in the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, and other excellent laws, rules, and regulations of Nigeria. He further adds that they have every right under the Constitution to carry out assigned legitimate roles of maintaining law and order in aid of civil authorities and other security agencies. He reiterated that anyone who doubts the commitment of the PSOs, GOCs, and field commanders the commitment of the PSO, GOCs, and field commanders to their constitutional responsibilities must be made to know that they remain committed, loyal, and unwavering in ensuring the unity, stability, and security of our dear country, Nigeria. He charged them to show the detractors and other elements of destabilization that they are neither part of them nor in any way supportive of their activities at all times. He directed that any act of arson or attempt to kill or maim any military or security personnel and other law-abiding civilians must be responded to quickly and decisively. According to him, in dealing with any security threat, they must fully cooperate with personnel of the Nigerian police force and other security agencies and must ensure that everyone is in full compliance with imposed curfews and other excellent security instructions in force. Jabrate further alerted the PSOs, GOCs, and field commanders that the recent activities by unscrupulous elements have shown their desire to acquire arms and ammunition at all costs from security personnel. No less than 10 AK-47 rifles have been lost to this miscreant in the past 2 weeks across the country.
Touch Radio, your best companion in infotainment.
Yeah, welcome back. That was a Colonel Sagiru Musa speaking on behalf of his boss, Major General Burantai. Now, he was saying all this at least to back up the army, of what they did. The army in one of their statements said, "Our men were at," I'm quoting now, "Our men were at Lekki but did not shoot anybody." So, but the governor of Lagos State went to some hospitals where he went to visit some victims of the shootings. So who is lying here? Who is lying? Now look at out of all these, the SERAP also came up with another press release, to the International Criminal Court saying that the army must be held culpable. And also, not only the army, the Lagos state government too. They should pay dearly for what had happened. Before we go, let's quickly look at the press release that was turned out by Serap just a few days back.
Serap, 21 October 2020. Mrs. Fatou Bensouda, Prosecutor, International Criminal Court, PO Box 195192500 CM, The Hague, the Netherlands. Dear Mrs. Fatou Bensouda, we request to investigate allegations of crimes against humanity committed against NSAS peaceful protesters in Lagos, Edo, Osun, and Kano State of Nigeria. Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project, SIRAP, is sending you this petition to request you to use your good offices and leadership position to investigate reports that Nigerian authorities, military, and some politicians have used and are using thugs, soldiers, and security agents to intimidate, harass, attack, and kill NSAS peaceful protesters in several parts of Nigeria, including Abuja, Lagos, Edo, Osun, Plateau, and Kano State, and the repeated failure of the government of President Muhammadu Buhari to address these human rights, which amount to crimes against humanity within the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court, ICC. The use of thugs and soldiers against peaceful protesters have resulted in several deaths and injuries. Nigerian authorities have failed and/or neglected to prevent these crimes against peaceful protesters. SIRAP urges you to push for those suspected to be responsible for these crimes, mostly security officials, soldiers, some politicians, and other actors who directly or indirectly have individually and/or collectively contributed to the attacks, death, and injuries, and are therefore complicit in the crimes, to be tried by the ICC. Nigeria is a state party to the Rome Statute and deposited its instrument of ratification on 27 September 2001. SRAP is a non-partisan, non-profit, legal and advocacy organization devoted to promoting transparency, accountability, and respect for socioeconomic rights in Nigeria. SRAP received the Wole Soyinka Anti-Corruption Defender Award in 2014 and was nominated for the United Nations Civil Society Award and Ford Foundation's Jubilee Transparency Award. SRAP serves as one of two sub-Saharan African civil society representatives on the governing committee of the UNCAC Coalition, a global anti-corruption network of over 380 civil society organizations, CSOs, in over 100 countries. According to our information, Nigerian authorities, military, and some politicians have used thugs, the police and soldiers, to intimidate, harass, attack, and shoot at peaceful protesters campaigning against police brutality across several parts of the country, including in Abuja, Lagos, Edo, Oyo, Ondo, Plateau, and Kano State. The protest began on October 8, 2020, calling on the authorities to abolish an abusive police unit called the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS. Nigerian authorities have shot tear gas, water cannons, and live rounds at protesters, reportedly killing at least 60 people and wounding several others. According to Amnesty International, on October 10, Jimoh Isiaka was allegedly killed when police opened fire to disperse protesters in Ogbomosho, Oyo State. At least 2 other people were killed the following day in protest against Isiaka's death. On October 12, police officers in Surulere, Lagos, reportedly opened gunfire to disperse protesters, killing 55-year-old Ikechukwu Ilohamauzo. On October 15, the Nigerian Army warned subversive elements and troublemakers to desist and offer to support the civil authority in whatever capacity to maintain law and order. The Nigerian Army has also been complicit in human rights abuses, including the use of lethal force against peaceful protesters. Just last night, several people taking part in the NSAS peaceful protests at the LEKKI toll gate and Alausa in Lagos were reportedly shot dead or wounded by soldiers. Several journalists covering the protests have been severely attacked. The CCTV monitoring cameras at the LEKKI toll gate and street light were reportedly turned off before soldiers opened fire on peaceful protesters. This suggests a deliberate ploy by the authorities to cover up these crimes against humanity. Nigeria has a long history of systematic and widespread attacks on peaceful protesters, especially since President Muhammadu Buhari assumed power in May 2015. Nigerian authorities have failed to ensure justice for killings of protesters. Hundreds of members of the Shia Islamic Movement of Nigeria, IMN, were killed by the Nigeria Army in Zaria, Kaduna State on December 12, 2015.
Touch Communications, your best companion in infotainment.
that was Serap's letter to the International Criminal Court, opening, the can of worms, especially about the abuse of humanity or human rights, going on in Nigeria. Now, the federal government of Nigeria, the president of our dear country, President Muhammadu Buhari, said that all the state governors should set up, inquiry. They should put up inquiry to look into the various, killings, various, dehumanizing, of the citizenry by SARS, and that has been going on now. In Lagos State to set up its own panel of inquiry, and in that panel, I think there are two youths, that were part of the NSAS protest, so even today, as I'm speaking to you, the panel went to the spot, to the Lekki toll gate, in their investigation of what really happened, there. But I know that by next week, we should be able to still come up with some findings, about what the panel, is doing, and even not only in Lagos State, even from other states, in the country. Now, let's look at how the events, how they begin to unfold, in days to come. I believe that Nigeria, we are not happy with what in this country. We can see that there's a disconnect between the government and the governed. Nigerians are not happy. There's so much tension in the land, hunger. We're just praying that we should come out of this COVID-19 pandemic. Now we slipped into the NSAS, protest, and before you know it, there was pandemonium burning here and there in the nation, and I just pray that the government, should stand its ground, know the needful, know the right thing to do, because if things are not properly handled, I wonder. The country might slide back into another chaos, and I pray this will not happen. Well, my viewers and listeners, I think we just have to hang our boot, today. Let's see how events, unveils, as we enter the coming weeks. I just want to say a big thank you to my producer. It's been a production of presenter Oluwa Misheun. I thank you so much, sir. And also, I want to thank you and ask you that the program is open for sponsorship. You can sponsor it in bits or in full. Just look at our social handle. That's Touch Radio Nigeria, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. You can get across to my producer, and we can seal the deal. Let's do it next week again. Thank you so much. God bless you. So long, and have a nice weekend.
Touch Communications, your best companion in infotainment. Touch Radio, your best companion in infotainment.